Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. We have a very exciting presentation today on floor covering installation systems product line review. Our presenter is Jeff Johnson. Jeff is the business manager for MAPEI's floor covering installation systems line. He brings to the industry more than 35 years of experience in the development and marketing of floor covering installation products. With practical experience in the construction industry and as a bench chemist, Jeff has an insightful perspective on surface preparation, moisture mitigation, and floor covering installation. As a housekeeping item, please hold your questions until the end. There is a chat box, so feel free to plug in any questions you might have, and we'll be sure to get to those at the end. All right, so without further ado, Jeff, take us away.
Thank you very much and welcome everybody. Thank you for spending some time with me this afternoon for what am pretty sure is going to be a full hour, maybe an hour and a half's worth of information about the product line, because there is a lot to talk about. I totally understand if your schedule does not allow you to stick through the whole thing. I won't feel bad if you had to drop off, but there's a lot to talk about and a lot of new information. So I wanted to spend some time with you on that and give you a heads up that it will take a little bit of time. Just in case you are aware or not aware, the MAPEI North America is one of the proud sponsors of the Andretti IndyCar Series. I think they just won a race recently in Toronto, but if you think those guys are fast, wait till you see what we got to do with the FCIS product line. So strap on your 6-point harnesses and let's get ready to jump into the business. So here we go. Just for a heads up as to what we're going to be talking about and what I hope you'll be able to get out of this webinar today is to get an updated understanding of the current and active product line from MAPEI. I haven't done a product line review with you for quite a while. We've spent a lot of time talking about unique applications, installation issues, new product introductions, etc. But this is an opportunity to get a glimpse of all the things that we have relative to the floor covering installation. So hopefully there's going to be a few moments though where you will go, didn't know we had that. Or, I could use that on this next project, whatever. So hopefully you'll get a chance to do that. You're going to learn about some changes in our product positioning and how we use our products. They're very important to keep up with current events. A lot of this is being driven by our superb R&D group and tech service departments who have been able to help us move into the next generation of usage and how we position them. Certainly, we hope you be able to internalize and understand how the individual products work. We have more than one adhesive for resilient flooring. We have more than one self-leveling underlayment. We have more than one patch and skim coat. And hopefully you'll be able to, by the end of this presentation, get some ideas as to why you would want to use one over the other. And then hopefully to get a complete picture of the depth of our portfolio, because it's still something that I hear from people that I didn't know you had that, or I didn't know you were into this. So we're going to go through the whole thing. The whole thing, if you look at the categories of products we look at, we're going to be talking about skim coating, patching and deep fill solutions, moisture control products, primers and self-leveling underlayments, adhesive for textile or carpet, adhesive for resilient flooring, adhesive for wood flooring, and last but not least, the wood floor finishing components that we have in there. So that's the breadth of it from a 50,000 foot view. Now let's drop down and get into first gear and hit that first corner and talk about skim coating, patching, and deep fill solutions. And I apologize, this is just going to be a little bit of a catalog dump, if you will, but I'm going to talk about some of the unique attributes of these as we go along. I don't have enough time to spend a whole 45 minutes on each one, but there is a product that's on our catalog that you may or may not be aware of. It was part of our shower system for LVT, but a very interesting skim coat and patch product called Planet Prep for LVT. It's pre-mixed based on acrylic technology. It's high moisture resistant, very hard, very durable. It's a phenomenal embossed and leveler component designed for a skim coat. Works on wood, works on concrete, works on gypsum, the whole 9 yards. And it comes pre-mixed, so you don't need water. It works on porous and non-porous substrates as well. You'll see a couple of of my made icons. This is not something the corporation has adopted yet, but I wanted to throw out a few things in the upper right-hand corner of these slides to indicate some of the key attributes of how these things work. So that red triangle on top is porous and the other one is non-porous. So the Planet Prep for LVT can use them both aspects. And again, once you use a little bit of it, put the lid back on it, it's good for the next project. It has no pot life like a cement-based product. Planet Patch, hopefully all of you know about that, is our Portland cement-based workhorse of patching and repair. Has a great product. It's got a very short pot life aspect to it, very fast drying, great product for general repairs, patching and ramping in the whole 9 yards. Planet Patch Plus is its counterpart. It's an additional injection, if you will, of polymer into the product that gives it a little bit better bond, sticks to a little bit more non-porous substrates, and that's why that non-porous icon is glowing. It only works if you put that Planet Patch Plus in the material. It works on non-porous. But again, that's Planet Patch Plus. Planet Prep SC is a product we've had around for quite a while. This has become quite a very popular skim coat. That's what the SC stands for. And again, this is a very easy to spread. It's like a chocolate frosting type application. Requires a little bit of attention to mixing, but it is a great product for skim coat. Highly polymer modified so that it will bond to a variety of different surfaces, both porous and non-porous, and a very fast curing product as well. Again, designed primarily for thin applications. It can go up to 1 inch thick in several different applications, but there's some limitations as to how large of an area you can apply Planet Prep SC in thick application. I think that's 4 square feet maximum on the TDS. So something to think about. We do have solutions for deeper pour applications or deep repairs that you might want to use prior to using SC. That might be easier to work with. Planet Prep PSC is a new introduction to our product line, a calcium aluminate cement-based material, fast drying, skim coat, high moisture resistant, but this one is designed more for a patching and skim coating. So it's capable of doing a little bit deeper fills. I think it's 1 inch again as well, but no limitations on the how great of a surface area you can go on that. But again, very easy to mix, has great trowelability, great flow, sands very nicely, and is a great product to use under a lot of our adhesives, no matter whether it's resilient carpet or text or wood. MAPEI Quick Patch is also an industry standard out in the marketplace. This is a sanded Portland cement-based material, very quick setting. It has exterior rate characteristics and can be used to repair spalled concrete on exterior applications, ramps, stairs, etc. We use it for the floor covering installation side of the fence to fill deep areas, deep fills, ramping, etc. The challenge with MAPEI Quick Patch, is that it is a sanded product and does leave a little bit of a gridded surface when you try to smooth it out as much as you can. That's gridded surface is not an issue for things like carpet or wood, but when it comes to installation of resilient flooring, you might want to cover an application as Quick Patch with Planet Prep PSC or SC just to get a nice skim coat version. But again, this one is designed for deep fill applications, ramping, and very fast drying. Top Gem Premix, again, if you're trying to fix a floor that has a much larger depth to fill, like a sunken living room that needs to be brought up 2 or 3 inches off the floor. Well, obviously, we have self-leveling underlayment applications for that, but that can be problematical, can be expensive, a little bit difficult to deal with. But we have a couple of solutions that are more attainable and easier to work with, and they're screed materials, basically, for lack of a description. They don't flow per se, but they're designed to be put into deep areas, bull floated into position, allow them to cure, and then you can finish on top of them. You have to think about them as concrete in the in a bag, whatever, but it is not heavily aggregate. It's something that's easy to work with and ramp and do all sorts of stuff. The other choice we have is a product that we've borrowed from the textile and stone side of the fence, is Slope RS. This is another great product for ramping and deep filling, perhaps a little bit faster. We have been using this as the product of recommendation for sloping shower bases if you're doing LVT installation in showers. Again, we like this one because it's easy to work with, easy to handle, and very rapid cure and very high strength by the time it's all done. So if you took a look at the patch and skim coat and deep fill charts, you get a chance to see a little bit about their thickness of repair. To give you some idea, the extent, as I mentioned before, Planaprep PSC is a ½ inch, PSC is 1 inch. Planaprep for LVT has got some limitations. It's really a skim coat material. If you apply this a little bit thicker, it takes much longer to dry. MAPEI Quick Patch is that 3-inch product, and as you see below, the Top Gem Premix and the Planet Slope RSs are good up to 4 inches. So that's one of the selections, driver selections. We'll talk about that in a second. Is how deep you have to go and how far you have to spread it. Wait time before the installation of ceramic tile and stone and carpet resilient wood. These numbers for carpet resilient wood are, in my opinion, a little bit in flux because we have basically they were developed back in the day when all of the adhesives had very low moisture limits to them, 3 pounds of moisture vapor emission rates and 75% RH. But as you should be all aware, a lot of our resilient stuff and even some of our wood products and some of our carpet products are designed to be used on high moisture conditions. And so that can somewhat change based on the product you're installing on top of it. Compression strength are listed here on the right. I do want to spend a little bit of time saying that skim coats like Planaprep SC and Planaprep for LVT do not come with a compression strength data. And I get this question asked of me a lot. What's the compression strength of SC or Planaprep for LVT? And the answer to that is that it doesn't really apply. These things are designed to be installed in paper thin applications, very thin layers, maybe as much up to 1/8 of an inch or whatever, but they're really designed to go on thin applications. As such, they're highly polymer modified to make sure that the cement has a chance to hydrate, the cement has a chance to stick, but it's really not relevant to have a compression strength on a skim coat. If you're doing something in a deep fill, in a deep patch, whatever, that might make some sense. But skim coats are designed to do surface defect modification only and don't have a compression strength data associated with that. Again, the selection drivers on which product to use out of that mix are going to go based on the thickness of application. Am I skim coating? Am I ramping? Am I filling a trench? Those kind of things will help me decide which one of that. Cost is a factor. Some of these are relatively inexpensive. Some of them are more expensive. Time constraints. How much time do I have to wait for the product to dry? And to a certain extent, some of the porosity factors that are involved there as well. Can I use this on a non-porous substrate or not? So those are some of the drivers that will do that. Now we're going to take a look at the primers and self-leveling underlayments. And just for preaching to the choir, you really can't talk about self-leveling underlayments without talking about primers. And you can't talk about primers without talking about self-leveling underlayments. The two of these have to go together. Self-leveling underlayments require the use of a primer in one form or another in order for them to function. So here we go and dive onto that one. We have a variety of different primers, starting with primer L, which is an acrylic latex primer designed for porous concrete. And you'll see on the right here, the porous symbol shows up only. And it's can be applied in a diluted format. This is typically diluted 3:1 with water. So a gallon of this product can actually make 4 gallons of material. But it requires multiple coats, and that's why the 1, 2, 3 coats on the side in order for function. I would highly recommend you take a look at the TDS that has some variations on that over what kind of substrate you're dealing with. This is the product we recommend almost 100% when dealing with gypsum underlayments, like poured gypsum floors in residential home projects. There is some specific instructions on how to use Primer L under those applications, and that is to use a broom to push this on the floor, not a roller. And we like that broom to go over these gypsum substrates to help break up the friable surface on the top, allow the Primer L to penetrate and really give that great bond. It doesn't work all that well to use a roller to put the primer on top of this because you're sticking to the dust and not getting into the meat of the underlayment. But again, highly recommend you take a look at the TDS next time you're involved in that. Another great primer that we have in the portfolio is a one coat solution. I believe this can be diluted and do double coats as well, to 1-to-1, designed primarily for use over porous and non-porous substrates, including a variety of different existing flooring, as well as it's well bonded. But this one is tinted magenta, so you can definitely see that this is being applied properly and you get the appropriate coverage out of that as well. Okay, one thing to remember about primers is that it's not always the best idea to put a thick layer of primer. More primer is not always the right solution. The more primer you apply, if you cheat yourself on coverage and say more is better and start putting it on really heavy, you're going to wind up extending the dry time on these things considerably, because the top of the primer will skin over, trap the moisture beneath it, and wind up having some issues on the dry time long term. So follow the instructions, make sure you apply these things in the right kind of layer, and don't go thick with them if you can. Primer X is a new one we've introduced in the product portfolio a while ago. This was designed specifically to go over epoxy or non-porous substrates and provide some sort of grit to it for the application of self-leveling underlayments on top, or even skim coats as far as that goes. But it got a very phenomenal grab to non-porous materials, can be used over porous as well. And we've had great success using this over wood substrates, concrete substrates, and other non-porous materials as well. Do not use this on a metal surface. That's not where it's going to go. But other things, other non-porous substrates on the TDS will help you as well. Again, a gridded product, very fast drying. This one dries out in about an hour after application. Again, you have to watch your coverage. Don't put this stuff on thick. It will take a little bit longer to dry the thicker it goes. Then we have some specialty primers that are in the box. Not everybody has these kind of things to offering, but we've got a few of them. Primer WE is a 2-component water-based epoxy primer that helps get a grab to very difficult and stubborn substrates on which to work with. It works on epoxy and moisture control membranes, urethane membranes, other existing non-porous substrates. It is really when all else fails, Primer WE has been pulled to solve a lot of problems. It's got a great bond to the substrate and actually provides a sticky surface for the leveling compound to be applied to it as well. Again, it's a one-coat solution, takes a little bit longer to cure. Obviously, it's a 2-component water-based system, so the water's got to react. The epoxies have to react as well, but it can be used on porous or non-porous substrates as well. Primer CE, this is a 2-part low viscosity epoxy product that's designed to help consolidate friable surfaces of concrete or gypsum underlayments. So if the substrate is brittle for whatever reason, it could be poor curing characteristics. It's just not solid enough to be able to take a secondary or a subsequent flooring installation. Primer CE does the great job of that. Its low viscosity will help penetrate into the surface of the substrate and will help consolidate that structure and making it more durable. It is not something that you could apply self-leveling underlayment to directly on top of it. It would require a sand broadcast, but it is designed for consolidating weak surfaces prior to the installation of floor covering products. Primer E is a 2-part epoxy, a little bit more body-wise, but it's designed to be applied on non-porous substrates, and this one including metal surfaces as well, for the priming prior to self-leveling underlayment application. This product does require a sand broadcast to rejection in order to be suitable for the primer underneath any self-leveling underlayments. Again, it takes a little bit of time to cure. I think the target time frame is somewhere in the 6 to 8 hours after you apply it and the sand is broadcast into it. You can use our MAPEI Sand coarse and MAPEI Sand fine for that. And once that's done, it's a perfect primer base. It's a perfect base, mechanical grab base for any of our self-leveling underlayments. Again, this would be a primer of choice if you have a high performance leveling application that's going to be exposed to a great deal of traffic, a lot of different pressure. A great solution for that. Recommended for our Ultraplan M20 warehouse applications, for example. We'll talk about that in a moment. Planabond EBA, high modulus epoxy bonding agent, is another one of these super products for grabbing onto concrete prior to the application of another self-leveling underlayment. We've also used these for crack management, crack isolation, crack management or crack bonding. We talk an awful lot about this process in some of our technical data sheets to talk about chasing a crack with a saw using the appropriate PP&E, opening it up, and using Planabond EBA to drip into these cracks and then cover it with a sand broadcast on top. So it's a great solution for that kind of repair going forward. We have another product in terms of primer. This is a one component water-based primer. Borrowing this from our tile and stone side of the fence. They use this product obviously as for tile over tile installation, but we use this also. Again, it's a great one component aggressive grit product for the works over a variety of different substrates, plywood, cement, concrete, obviously existing ceramic tile and other non-porous substrates, providing that grit, which is a very positive thing to have for self-leveling underlayments. It takes a little bit longer to dry than Primer X, something to keep in mind about, but it is a great primer for that application. We have a couple others. The list keeps going on for primers, so there are a lot to choose from. But Planaseal PMB, which you may know about it from our moisture control solution, is also considered a primer. It's a two-coat application method where you apply the first coat, allow it to penetrate into the porous substrate, and then a second coat with a sand broadcast on top. Again, this provides a very sturdy mechanical basis for all of our self-leveling underlayments. The advantage with Planaseal PMB with the two-coat and sand broadcast versus Planabond EBA, Planaseal CE, Primer CE, and Primer E is that this can cure up in about 4 hours in total, where those epoxies will take somewhere in the order of 6 to 8 hours. So speed is an advantage here, and it's ready to use, no mixing, no hazmat products. So there's a variety of different good things going on with Planaseal PMB. The last primer we have in the box is also another moisture control membrane, but Planaseal MSP is capable of being used on porous substrates only. That's a two-coat application process for moisture control, but can be used on slabs up to 12 pH and RH conditions up to 99%. So again, this is another great solution. And once that's installed and properly cured, it's immediately ready for self-leveling underlayment application, and no additional primers are needed. So there's a variety of benefits here for that. Again, a water-based solution, put the lid on it. It's good for the next project. There's no waste of material, no pot life. So the selection drivers and what do you do to select? I mean, what are the choices you have to make? The type of substrate is involved. Is it gypsum? Is it cement? Is it existing sheet vinyl? Is it ceramic tile? Is it terrazzo or whatever? So that's something that's going to help the selection of the products. Porosity is important. Many of those products that we talked about in the primer category require some form of porosity, unless they're an epoxy. Primer L needs porosity. Primer T works better with porosity. Primer X works better with porosity. MSP works with porosity only. So those things are important to keep in mind. If you don't have porosity, then you have to take a look at the availability of mechanical profiling. Time constraints, as I mentioned before, some of these products dry very quickly. Primer X is within an hour. Planet-Seal PMB is complete within 5 hours, 6 hours. Planet-Seal MSP can be done within 4 or 5 hours. As compared to some of the other epoxy products, which can take as long as 6 to 8, maybe 10 hours of cure time. So there are some things to think about in terms of your selection. How much time do I have to get this job done? The moisture emission control level. Some of these are 100% solutions for RH and 25 pounds of moisture vapor emission rates. Some of them are less. MSP, I think, is 12 or 15 pounds moisture vapor emission rate in 99% solution. Planet-Seal PMB, 25 and 100, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that are going to drive your solution. And of course, cost. I have to tell you about that. Not everything is the cheapest solution in the box. Some things are more expensive, and they will help drive that decision as to whether you're going to do a mechanical profile or use something that's more engineered, perhaps, for the project. Now let's take a look at self-leveling compounds. I hope we're still hanging with me and it's not getting you too far, not seasick with emotion. So first of all, I want to go through some updates, and I've done this in previous webinars, but we'll do it again. But I want to make sure you're aware that we have removed a lot of the moisture limits for self-leveling underlayments, with the exception of Planet X SLF, which is gypsum, and that's a whole different animal. But for our cement-based products, we're basically telling you that they are an extension of the cement or concrete base or the plywood base. They don't act as moisture mitigation membranes. They don't block moisture. They don't block humidity. They will allow humidity to move through it. An advantage of a self-leveling underlayment is it's porous. The porosity helps adhesive bond to it better. If it was non-porous, it'd be more difficult to stick to. So we're saying that these leveler compounds and their associated primers are porous, and if you need moisture mitigation for the adhesive or the flooring you're installing on top of it, then you need to decide whether or not you want to put a mitigation system on before the leveler goes down. And there are some crazy exceptions as to why you would want to put a moisture control system on top of a leveler, but there are ways to do that as well. And that's why we say contact MAPEI Technical Service for that. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we get into a variety of the adhesive bonding solutions later in the presentation. So again, don't look for the 5 pound 80% thing on levelers. Those don't exist anymore. And that's relatively big news. We don't require the use of lath anymore over plywood decks. We do say that they have to be structurally sound with a maximum of 19.2 inches on center joists and meet the requirements of L over 360. So it's got to be stable and properly installed. And it can be any approved plywood oriented strand board subfloors that are engineer approved. So again, that's not, everybody goes to OSB, and I jump to this as well. That's not wafer board, chip board, the cheap stuff that you're dealing with. This is stuff that is engineered. I believe Advantech comes to mind. Weyerhaeuser has some. Georgia Pacific has some as well, that are designed to be moisture resistant, highly engineered oriented strand board material. So keep that in mind. But we don't require lath over wood substrates anymore. Reduction of the surface profile requirements. Again, our product portfolio has migrated over the years. When we used to have Portland cement-based self-leveling underlayments, CSP was very important, or the concrete surface profile, because Portland cement-based leveling compounds grow and shrink a lot more than the calcium aluminate cement-based materials that we currently make our levelers on. So as you have been with us for a while, you've seen products like UltraPlan 1 change from UltraPlan 1 to UltraPlan 1 Plus, NovaPlan 2 to NovaPlan 2 Plus. Whenever you see that plus designation, that means that at some point in its product history, we've migrated away from a Portland cement-based formulation into a calcium aluminate-based formulation. And as such, a lot of those things have become shrinkage compensated. So they're similar to their easy counterparts like NovaPlan Easy or UltraPlan Easy. So we are reducing the surface profiling requirements on a lot of these leveling compounds. There are a couple exceptions. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're installing UltraPlan 1 Plus and you're going a quarter of an inch maximum fill, 3/8 inch or half-inch maximum fill on the application, it's not necessary to go to the CSP of 2 or 3 prior to the primer application and then leveler. You can do that on a normal concrete substrate. It's only when you're going to do full depth of pour applications, and we'll talk about these levelers have maximum limits of application, like 1/2 inch, 2 inches, and so on. When you're at that top level, that's when we're asking you to have that concrete surface profile of 3 or 4, or use a textured primer. Again, if you remember what we just talked about in the primer selection, we have a variety of choices now that provide a textured primer that negates the need for CSP or mechanical profiling. Primer X, Eco Prim Grip, Planet Seal PMB with a sand broadcast, Primer E with a sand broadcast. All of those products don't require you to have the mechanical profiling on the job site. You can point to that primer and say, I don't need to do shot blasting or grinding or whatever method you want to use. I want to use a texture profile primer, and there we go. So take a look at the TDSs on a lot of our products. There are exceptions. As I mentioned, M20, the product that we recommend for warehouse floors, for exposed applications. Whenever you're dealing with that kind of application, we need you to do the CSP shot blast profile, the epoxy sand broadcast, and then the M20. Again, these are going to be exposed directly to heavy wheel traffic, forklifts, um, pallet moving equipment, etc. So we need to make sure that that's all well bonded, mechanically grabbed. UltraPlan Extreme 2. This is the product we recommend a lot of times for what we call go early applications. This is where the building is not enclosed. It can be exposed to liquid rain, snow, whatever the conditions are for a period of time before the building is stitched up. That one also requires an epoxy sand broadcast prior to the installation of it. There was one other one in there that I forgot. NovaPlan DPL, the deep pour level, the one that's up to 4 inches in thickness. We do require some some shot profile on that as well. We've added some additional approved substrates to the technical data sheets for all of these levelers. Now it's more than just concrete, gypsum, slab, plywood, etc. A lot of our MAPEI heat membranes and our MAPEI Guard products are now suitable substrates as well. You'll find those on our TDSs as well. So that is part of our endorsement for the tile and stone side of the fence. We're also putting on the technical data sheets a lot more stuff about ASTM standards or green certifications that we meet or exceed in many cases. So that's something that's new. And if you haven't paid attention, and I would get this question a lot, the technical data sheets on most of these leveling compounds do provide a pull-out strength piece of information on the physical attributes charts. And those tests were made on an ISO block, a concrete block over primer T. So if you want to know what the pull-out strength is, it's going to be on your technical data sheet. So please look for that. That question is oftentimes asked for epoxy flooring applications or other high performance flooring installations where you need to know what the bond strength is to the leveler to the substrate. All right, so now we're going to jump into the product portfolio itself, and we start off with Planitex SLF. This is a fiber reinforced gypsum based self-leveling underlayment. This product I don't think gets enough press because it's really a phenomenal leveling compound, mixes very nicely, creates a very smooth surface, very high compression strength material, and would work, as far as I'm concerned, is a definite commercial grade application. The only downside about gypsum products is that they cure differently. They have to cure by evaporation. All the water that went into them has to come out of them in order for this thing to work. It's like a plaster cast on your arm. You have to let it dry And if you get it wet, it gets messy. So typically Planitex SLF is recommended for concrete slabs on grade as long as there's a moisture vapor barrier at the concrete slab, or over an epoxy membrane or moisture control membrane, or definitely above grade where it would be used. Okay. It can also be used to cover or radiant or in-floor heating systems as well. Then we get into the calcium aluminate based materials. NovaPlan Easy Plus has been with us for many years now. Its claim to fame is that it can be used over non-profiled concrete or other surfaces, can be used over existing well-bonded flooring, for example. This was one that we've done pretty well. This is a shrinkage compensated formulation. It's a little bit slow to dry, but it's got good compression results, and on the lower cost side of the fence when it comes to self-leveling underlayments. NovaPlan HFL. This is one we've introduced a couple years ago, and it's doing extremely well in the marketplace today. This is a high flow self-leveling underlayment with good compression results. Again, a bit on the slow side for curing. That's something to keep in mind when you look at my line. The NovaPlan product portfolio is a little bit on the slow side, a little bit more calm when it comes to its curing process. The Ultraplans, on the other hand, are a little faster curing materials, and that you can also associate dollar signs with that as well. The NovaPlans are typically the $2 sign products, where the Ultraplans are the $3 sign products. So it's a little bit more expensive for the engineered products we provide. NovaPlan DPL, introduced again several years ago, designed for the application of self-leveling underlayments up to 4 inches in thickness in a single application. Now, I want to make sure, while I've got you on this for a moment, these require a little bit more effort to be able to do a 4-inch pour of anything. Again, keep in mind that these products are very liquid when you mix them together. They're not sticky. They want to flow. So in order to get a 4-inch lift, you're going to have to do something on the floor first before you start pumping in NovaPlan DPL, and that is in the creation of dikes and dams to be able to control the pour. A lot of times people will use Planet Patch to create ramping, or dikes, if you will. They use Quick Patch or Planet Slope RS to create like a waffle appearance on the floor that creates these little ponds, if you will, where you can pour the leveler at a 4-inch pour. But trying to do this in a 1,000 square foot area without any kind of diking is going to be a problem for you. It's going to continue to roll. The product will start gelling. The surface is going to wind up looking bad. So we need you to work with these deep pour products in more confined spaces. They work great, but it requires a little bit more effort going forward. NovaPlan 2 Plus, this is one of our contractor go-tos for a lot of products. Again, good flow characteristics, high strength, self-leveling underlayment with somewhat of a quicker curing time, but again, a great product for self-leveling applications. Again, a go-to for the major flooring contractor business. Oops. Ultraplan 1 Plus, this is when we start to get into our premium products, a little bit higher compression strength, higher flow properties, and faster curing. Ultraplan 1 Plus is designed to compete out there with some of the best in the business. And quite frankly, thanks to all of the efforts of the sales force and our production capacity and R&D groups, etc., I believe that MAPEI has become the #1 supplier of self-leveling underlayments in the North American marketplace today. I know for sure in Canada, and definitely making a pretty big swing at it here in the US as well. Ultraplan Easy, I'm sorry this photograph is incorrect, but Ultraplan Easy is another one of these shrinkage compensated low profile requirement products. Can go over existing floors, existing terrazzo, without having to profile them as well. Ultraplan M20 is the only product that I have in floor covering installation system. I just probably not correct when I'm going to say that can be an exposed surface. Everything else that we sell in floor FCIS is designed to go under floor covering. I'm sorry, with the exception of M20, which is the wrong picture here as well, and some of our Ultracoat products. We'll have to take a look at that as when we get to the end of the presentation. But this one is designed for warehouse flooring applications. It's non-colored. It doesn't have color control, so it's a natural cement-based product. So please don't expect it to be a uniform look throughout the line. But it's, again, very high compression strength, requires that sand broadcast epoxy curing, epoxy primer going forward, but that's how it works. Ultraplan Light is a new product we've had for a while. This has been a lifesaver for many applications. And keep in mind that a typical self-leveling underlayment, gypsum or calcium aluminate cement products, have a typical density of about 120 to 130 pounds per cubic foot. That means that each inch of that leveler is going to weigh about 12 pounds. Did I do that right? Something like 11 to 12 pounds per inch. So if you're trying to put an awful lot of leveler on a floor, it's adding 12 pounds per square foot additional load. So if you're trying to get 2 inches or even 3 inches of leveler application, that could be an additional 36 pounds, 40 pounds per square foot you're adding to the floor. Now, not all substrates are capable of taking that weight. So we developed Ultraplan Light, which is roughly half that density. You see 67 pounds per cubic foot. And that will allow you to get to those deep pores. This is suitable up to 2 inches in a single application, and not put so much weight on the floor. So we've done a lot of work with this leveler on cantilevered projects, suspended ceiling materials, where you really can't add up that much weight on top of the existing floor. So that's the reason for it. Ultraplan Extreme 2, as I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, is our go early product solution. It's designed to be used in environments where there's no windows, no doors, could be exposed to the natural environment, rain, snow, etc. It can be exposed to rain within 6 hours after application and not show any signs of degradation. Same thing about freezing conditions. Give it 3 days to cure, and you can allow it to freeze and it won't be a problem. Now that might be a problem for some of our other products, and that's why Extreme 2 has its home. Okay, so the performance attributes, again, this chart is available on our catalogs for you to download to take a look at. Here you'll see are the main attributes. Everybody wants to look at the compression strength. That's definitely available to you as well. Cure times for ceramic tile and stone or for carpet resilient wood is available, as well as the single lift application range. Now, many times people ask me, what is the time I have to wait for a second lift? Say I'm using NovaPlan 2 Plus and it's got to go an inch and I want to get to 2 inches. So how long do I have to wait before I can put the second layer on? I'm typically always going to recommend that they look at this time frame for the carpet resilient wood. The 36 hours would be the recommended time frame for second lifts on any one of these levelers. So Ultraplan Light at the bottom of that list requires 48 to 72 hours for carpet resilient wood. That would be the number I would recommend for a second lift of Ultraplan Light if you had to do it. So what are the selection drivers for this? Time constraints. Do I have time for it to cure and dry out, or don't I? So if I have time, NovaPlans are going to be good. Planitex SLF will be good. If I don't, the Ultraplan family is going to be good. Traffic conditions. High traffic, heavy rolling loads, metal casters, etc. I'm going to be going for products that have a higher compression strength. If I don't have that, it's going to be covered with carpet and foot traffic. I can go to a lower compression strength number. Obviously, available funds. It'd be nice to do everything with Extreme 2 or one of our higher end products because of all the bells and whistles that are associated with it, but not every project has that. Depth of application. As you looked at that chart, there are certain products that can go to half an inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, 4 inch, etc. You might need to deal with that. The exposed surface, what does that look like? And the structural integrity of the substrate. If it's not capable of taking all that load, then that's something you need to be aware of and look for the selection of Ultraplan Light, for example. Okay. Moving on to moisture control solutions, and we have a few of those as well. We've covered some of them in the past. But to begin with, we talk about PlanetSeal VS. This is the so-called gold standard for moisture vapor control. It has perm ratings of less than 0.1 according to the ESTM 96 test methods. It complies with the ESTM F3191 3010, excuse me, requirement for epoxy moisture vapor barrier applications, etc. It's good up to a RH of 100. It's suitable for slabs with pHs up to 14. Can be used on concrete slabs that are only 5 days old, which means they're really highly alkaline and haven't had a chance to carbonate, and typically are a one coat application. You do need to apply this in about a 14 mil thickness and wet film on CSP concrete profiled material in order to make it work. Again, it will take approximately 6 to 8 hours for it to cure time at 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, all epoxy products are thermoset and are affected by changes in temperature. So if it's a hot day, it's going to cure faster. If it's a cold day, it's going to cure slower. So that's something to keep in mind. Planaseal VS Fast was developed because Planaseal VS is a little bit slow. So Planaseal VS Fast does things a little bit faster. Again, RH is 100%, 25 pounds moisture vapor emission rate, up to pH is up to 14, one coat solution, but will cure up in about 4 to 6 hours rather than the 6 to 8 hours of the other product. So if you're trying to get something done a little bit quicker, this is the way to go. Or you can go to Planaseal PMB, which is a fast set epoxy moisture vapor barrier. Requires 2 coats to create the 100% solution. Can be used on pH slabs up to 12, but does require the substrate to be porous. You cannot use this on non-porous materials, and it needs to absorb or soak into the concrete somewhat. This is one you definitely do not apply in thick layers. It's a very thin, neat film that goes down the first coat. If you put it on too thick, it creates a little crusty surface. It's not to be alarmed about that. That crust can be scraped off. The material underneath it will immediately cure, but you don't want those crusty things on the surface because nothing sticks to it. It becomes a weak part of the bond line later. But again, 2 components, 2 applications of PMB with sand broadcast for leveling applications, 2 coats directly for loose lay applications on the top. We're recommending that as well. 1 coat of Planaseal PMB works if you're using our urethane or MS wood adhesives for the wood installation business. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get to wood stuff. But this, in my opinion, is one of the silver bullets for wood floor claims. A simple coat of this on a porous concrete or even plywood deck will, in conjunction with any of our urethane or modified silane adhesives, creates a great base for wood floor, protecting it from damage that might be caused from subfloor moisture emissions. Planaseal MSP, we've spoken about this as well in the primer solutions, but this also is a great moisture control membrane for a little bit less than the other big gorillas we're doing. This is a RH level 99%. The pH has to be less than 12. It is a 2-coat application for that moisture control solution and requires porosity for it to work. So there you go with Planaseal MSP. Again, what are the drivers on that? Is the moisture levels in the substrate. If you're dealing with things that are above 15 pounds, you've got to look at Planaseal PMB, VS, or VS Fast. pH conditions, if they're less than 12, maybe Planaseal MSP would work. Time constraints, we mentioned before, a lot of these things have different dry times. Planaseal VS being the longest one, Planaseal MSP or PMB being the shortest. There you go. The protection required by the flooring system. Sometimes the flooring system needs something that is a full boat, less than 0.1 perm data point. Or wood adhesives require a single coat for PMB, for example. Type of flooring installed, whether it's resilient flooring, carpet, wood, ceramic, so on and so forth. And porosity is definitely important, or the availability of mechanical profiling. Okay. All right, now we're making progress. We've gotten the floor prepped, moisture controlled, and leveled and smooth. Now let's talk about bonding solutions for textile flooring. And we start with Ultrabond Eco 20. We don't really talk much about this anymore because there really isn't that much in the way of broadloom carpet being installed. Some shows up in the hospitality markets sometime in Main Street, but for the most part, everybody's gone to carpet tile. But there is still a little bit of broadloom carpet installed. And Eco 20 is a base grade product designed for that. It's old school technology. It's based on styrene, butadiene, rubber latexes. It's not acrylic. It's designed for porous applications only with an RH limits of 75. The pH has got to be less than 8 to 12. And I think the moisture vapor emission rates are less than 5 pounds. So it's very old school stuff. It's an adequate bond for basic action back type carpet and does a good job. The one benefit of Eco 20 is if you do have to remove the carpet at some point in the future, within 3 to 4 years after it's installed, it's not terribly difficult to pull off the floor. So it's something to keep in mind. I did have a conversation with the contractor once who installed all of his flooring with high-end, high solids, high performance multi-purpose adhesives, and then decided he was kicking himself in the pants after that because trying to remove that carpet 5 years later required the use of terminators and metal and very heavy duty mechanical equipment to pull it off the floor. So think about where you're planning to use these products and how often the flooring will be replaced before you make your selection on what adhesive to use. Eco 185 has been with MAPEI for quite a long time. This is a fast grabbing carpet adhesive for most traditional backed carpets that we deal with. Again, a very solid performer, but a little bit old school. The RH limits are 90%, pH is less than 12, and definitely needs to be used on porous substrates as well. Cannot use this for anything vinyl. And the same thing is true for Eco 20, which we just mentioned. Eco 220 is the premium carpet adhesive in the market we have remaining. This is designed for double stick applications, pattern goods, high performance applications, high-end Axminster carpet installations, etc., where you need to have the highest performance attributes. Eco 220 is that product. It's also perfectly suitable for the installation of felt back sheet vinyl as well as linoleum, and all that stuff is on the TDS as well for you to take a look at. But again, relatively low RH levels, pH less than 12, must go on a porous floor as well. Eco 811 is our product we have on the record for carpet tile of all types. We've kind of gone through some modifications on this product over the years because the carpet tile manufacturers keep shifting things around with us on backing types. But Eco 811 was designed to work with basic PVC stuff, non-PVC stuff, bitumen-based stuff, felt, fleece back stuff, you name it. All this kind of stuff can be done. Can work on non-porous as well as porous substrates. Again, this is designed to be used as a pressure-sensitive adhesive. That means all the water's got to come off of it and leave you with a very sticky floor, which you can put your carpet tile in, take the carpet tile out, put another one back in, so on and so forth. You can use this as a wet lay method, and we sometimes recommend this for double stick carpet installations, and that helps give you a more permanent bond, a more durable bond, something that's not easy to take apart, but you can use it for that if you have to. Eco 811 can also be used for fiberglass reinforced sheet vinyl and a variety of other products as well. Eco 420. Now you will notice that I don't have any icons on the right hand corner. It's not a mistake. This is designed for use outside. So the moisture limits don't really apply. Can be used on porous or non-porous substrates, even fiberglass deckings, fiberglass boat decks, etc., for the installation of traditional outdoor carpet. It's also a phenomenal adhesive for indoor applications as well. This is very strong bonded. It's got some great properties in terms of grab, strength, etc. But it's also recommended for Mapisonic RM and ceramic tile installation. So it's got some great usage here in the marketplace. Don't forget, it's more than just an outdoor carpet adhesive. A couple of accessories. In the carpet domain, Eco 2285, this is an acrylic seam sealer. For those of you who may not be familiar with carpet insulation, every time you cut a piece of carpet, you must seal the edge of the seam with a seam sealer to keep that carpet from raveling. If you've ever been on a project or a job site and you see a row of the carpet tuft ripped out, it's because the installer did not use a seam sealer to lock that edge in. So it's a very important aspect of the direct glue down application of carpet on the job site. So that's something to remember. We have that. 3185 is a carpet pad cement. This is more of a residential function more than commercial, but it's designed to hold a urethane sponge carpet cushion used in stretch-in carpet installations on residential applications over concrete substrates. Again, this is if you're putting carpet in your home and you have a wood subfloor, the carpet pad goes down and the installer will just hit it with a couple of tacks to hold it in place. If you're doing that, putting carpet in your home and you're working with a concrete subfloor, you can't use tacks to hold it down, so you use a glue to be able to hold it down. So it's a sticky, gooey material, squirts out on the floor, spread it out with a little remaining piece of carpet just to spread it out somewhat, throw your pad in place, and it keeps the pad from moving while you're stretching the carpet in place. Anyway, selection drivers for which one to use, the type of textile flooring, expected traffic conditions, obviously, we talked a little bit about that, available funds, and the location of the installation. All those kind of things are going to help drive which one of those products to use. Now we're getting into resilient bonding flooring solutions. And if you thought I had enough self-levelers, underlayment formulations, wait till you see what we have for resilient. It's okay, the resilient market is booming right now, so we've got a bunch of choices for that as well. We start with basics. Ultrabond Eco 711 has been a tried and true styrene butadiene rubber sticky latex designed for the installation of vinyl composition tile. This one is a little bit lower price point than some of our acrylic pressure sensitives and is the go-to product for installation of VCT, vinyl composition tile. Can only be installed in a pressure sensitive mode, which means all the water is going to come out. No touch to the adhesive can't transfer to the touch when you pull it out. It's got some relatively robust RH limits of 95%. I think the moisture vapor emission calcium chloride test is 8 pounds, whatever. Can be used on non-porous or porous substrates, again, but can be only used in a PSA mode as well, not wet laid at all. Eco 575, this is probably the industry's go-to cove base adhesive. We sell oodles and oodles of this stuff. Light in color, acrylic based, comes in all different kinds of sizes, 10.5, 29 ounce, gallon quart, 4-gallon units as well, but is the go-to for holding vinyl and rubber wall base to vertical surfaces. Again, porosity is somewhat required for this to be able to work, and it's a wet lay type of an application. Eco 575 is also the product we recommend if you're installing carpet on the wall. So keep that in mind if somebody ever asks you, how do I stick carpet, broadloom carpet action back on the wall? 575 will do that, or sizable carpet will do that as well. Now we get into some of our acrylics, and one of the older ones we have in the line is Ultrabond Eco 350. You can obviously see here that the RH level is about 80%, which means it's not one of those that we designed long-term for high moisture resistance. It's been in the market for quite a while. It still has a great following. It can only be used over porous substrates, can be used in a somewhat of a pressure sensitive mode. You let it flash off, no longer transfer to the touch. There might still be some whiteness in the ridges, but primarily you would do this in a semi-wet or wet lay application for Eco 350. So again, if your concrete slab is dry, the numbers coming out less than 80%, Eco 350 is a great solution for solid vinyl sheet, luxury vinyl tile and plank, you name it, goes in there. Not necessarily recommended for rubber flooring. That's some of our other products will do that as well, but 350 for the vinyl applications. 360 was an improvement on 350. This product provided enhanced dimensional stability control to keep things from gapping, keep seams from opening up. It's definitely the product we introduced that had heavier rolling load resistance. But again, We're not talking about something that was designed for high moisture conditions at this point. This was something you would install over a mitigated leveling compound or something that's a drier concrete slab. The challenge with Eco 360 is it has a limited working time of an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. You really need to be working on that when it's a semi-wet or wet lay installation. But it's a great product, has had a great history and good track record as well. Moving into something that's a little bit more new to the marketplace, Eco 373 took the LVT market by storm a couple years ago. This was a highly aggressive, pressure sensitive adhesive designed for use on slabs that are 99% RH. Porous and non-porous substrates, pH is less than 12. It got its claim to fame by using the pressure sensitive adhesive mode. What contractors would do, they would spread 1,000 square feet, let it all flash off, and then just come in and start throwing luxury vinyl plank on the floor like dealing cards out of the deck in Vegas. It was very fast, very easy to go. Markets changed somewhat, and many of the flooring manufacturers are recommending semi-wet or wet lay applications. And we have verified that some Eco 373 can be used in a semi-wet or wet lay application on concrete slabs as long as they're porous. You need to provide porosity at the same RH levels. So 373 can be installed semi-wet or wet as long as the slab is porous at an RH of 99% and still provide functionality. And that will definitely help improve some of the dimensional control of the adhesive. Again, Eco 373 is what I would consider a super PSA. It's very aggressive, very sticky, may have a little bit of less modulus than some of the other products we're dealing with. So that's why Eco 399 was developed. Eco 399 was the product that was given also a high moisture resistant rating, porous and non-porous, pressure sensitive mode, and did more to control dimensional movement of the flooring. Now, keep in mind that if I little soapbox for you here for a moment, LVT is becoming the flooring of choice of the industry. We get that because it's easy to install, it comes in a box. It's like putting Lego together. But what people are failing to remind themselves or remember is that this stuff is a piece of plastic and subject to changes in temperature. If you're installing it hot, it's 90 degrees in the room and everything looks beautiful. You walk out, the homeowner comes in and turns the air conditioning and everything chills to 70 degrees. Things are going to shrink and you're going to wind up with gapping everywhere you look. It's unavoidable because the plastic does that. The same thing is true if you do it cold, it's 50 degrees, you install it, everything looks fine. You leave the job, the homeowner comes in, turns it to 72, everything grows, and you wind up with peaking and cupping and doming. So you've got to install these products at room temperature or the temperature in which they're going to be operating to be able to make them work. 399 will help control some of that, but it is not the end all to be all. Again, it's still a pressure sensitive material. It's definitely a higher modulus material. You can install in a PSA mode. And as I mentioned before on 373, 399 can also be done on a semi-wet or wet lay application as long as the concrete slab is porous, and you will get better control. 379 is a product we introduced recently. This was our answer towards spray adhesive, stuff that was in a can. It is a roller applied material. As a consequence, it's a very fast product. That in terms of application and dry time, it dries out in about 10 to 15 minutes and it's immediately ready for floor covering. Again, so it's only a PSA mode, high moisture resistance, pH less than 12, porous and non-porous substrates as well. But it's designed for reducing time. And you can stand up and apply this with a 3/8 inch nap roller and really get some adhesive coverage very quickly. I got a great product reference for this from a contractor in the Midwest who loved 379. He used to be a tape guy, liked to use double-sided tapes for installation of sheet goods, but he said 379 were great. It's easier to manage and handle than big sheets of tape. And once the adhesive was installed, I virtually came back with a sheet vinyl and did my heat welding. Everything was great. We love it. So 379 is out there. Keep in mind that as well. Eco 570, a bit of a departure. This is designed for reground rubber underlayments or sport flooring. Again, and a little bit of a position. It's 100% solids moisture cured urethane, a wet lay only, porous substrates primarily, but can be used interior and exterior for the installation of reground rubber sport flooring. So the stuff that's going in gyms and walk off mats for horses and stables and so on and so forth can be used for that application. All right, G19, again, old school, 2-component, epoxy modified polyurethane 2-part system with a little splash of solvent in it. These are, how do I explain, the top end installation materials. If you want the ultimate in dimensional stability control, if you want the ultimate in heavy rolling load resistance, if you're going to install in areas that are going to be exposed to vast changes of temperature, like a hot yoga studio, for example, wants to put LVT and keep things from moving, G19 would be the way to go. pHs of 95, RHs of 95, that is in question right at the moment. This is probably going to be up to 100% here at the end of the year. pH is less than 12. That can also be changed as well. Porous and non-porous substrates as well. G21, another one of those variants, but without the solvent addition. If you wanted to get that high performance in a more critical environment, hospital, for example, G21 does the same thing. Again, if you wanted a situation where you have to have the ultimate in control, heavy rolling load resistance, heavy casters, and so on and so forth, G21 is the ultimate solution. But it is a wet lay product only, as well as G19, which does mean you have to install things a little bit differently. It's not something you can work on while you're installing it. So it means if you put a sheet down into the open adhesive, you cannot walk on it, you cannot put your knees into it, you can't put your roller on it because the adhesive will squeeze out from underneath that and you wind up with bubbles in the project. You've got to put walk-off boards. People use 1/4-inch masonite, plywood sheets, whatever, to keep from walking on that freshly bonded solution. Eco 901, a bit of an odd bulb that doesn't really fit anywhere, but this is for fiberglass reinforced panels. It's an acrylic adhesive, high body, high viscosity that helps hold fiberglass reinforced panels to porous walls like drywall or cement block. A lot of this stuff is being used in wet environments that are, or in, excuse me, what am I saying, freezers or refrigerators or areas like that. Anyway, then we have a few other specialized products that were part of our shower system for LVT, but I'm reassociating them into the resilient family, so don't forget about them. But these are 1-component, moisture cured, silane modified materials that provide the same kind of performance attributes that G19 and G21 do in a 1-component solution, and a product that doesn't have a pot life. You don't have to mix components together. You pull a little bit of MS4 for LVT on the floor, you can put the lid back on, and you'll still be able to use it down the stream. RH levels of 100%, porous and non-porous. It also provides, a new icon up here in the corner, a moisture barrier and bonding solution in one. So this does provide the perm reduction that you need for moisture sensitive flooring on the top. It's a 1-step solution going forward. Okay, and then MS for LVT wall, same situation. This is a higher viscosity. We've developed this one to hold LVP plank and tile in a vertical application without slipping. The MS for LVT regular would not be able to do that. So we have that product available as well. Wet lay type conditions, works on non-porous substrates as well as porous. It is part of our shower system. If you're putting LVT inside a tub surround or bathroom wet environment, this is the adhesive to go to. That also has another weird product that goes with it. This is on top of the floor. The MAPEI code for LVT is a 2-part aliphatic isocyanate cured coating that has traction control. So if you want to provide traction on a resilient flooring that's exposed to water, wet environments, say for example in front of a produce section, walk-off areas in front of retail environments, geriatric homes, assisted living homes, where people are worried about slip and fall. This meets all of the ADA requirements for wet traction. It is something to keep in mind as well. Not an adhesive per se, but part of that resilient family. A couple of new ones that we're adding that you might see show up on our website that are available only at the retail environments. Our lowest customer at this point is Ultrabond Eco 303. It's a floor repair adhesive. It's designed to be injected underneath a wood floor, a resilient floor, or ceramic tile floor to help solve hollow spots or debonding issues. It's a water-based material. You simply drill an 1/8 inch hole into the surface, put the nozzle in there and inject it with a caulking gun, roll it around with a hand roller, put some weights on top of the surface of the bubble, and in time that will, within 24 hours, will lock that stuff down and solve that problem. So anyway, the selection drivers for all this, again, the type of resilient flooring involved, whether it's vinyl-based, rubber-based, non-PVC as well, the moisture levels in the substrate. You obviously know we've got some adhesives that are less moisture sensitive than others. Porosity of the substrate. Some can only be used on porous substrates, some cannot. Expected traffic conditions. Heavy traffic, foot traffic. Installation method, wet lay PSA versus semi-wet. And the moisture barrier properties included, that may be something of importance when people select that. And that's where they would go to the MS for LVT products, for example. Wood flooring products. Hope you're all with me so far. It's 12 minutes after the 1 hour, so we're getting close to the end of the race. So hang on, take a sip of water, and I can tell you it's only a few more laps left to go. When it comes to wood flooring, we have a few selections as well. We start with Eco 975. That's a urethane adhesive for hardwood flooring. You'll see that it's designed for pH levels less than 12, relative humidity numbers less than 80%. Can work over porous and non-porous substrates, wet lay only. 975's claim to fame is that it's a lightweight version. This 4-gallon pail weighs approximately 20% to 25% less than the normal 980 on the other side of the fence. So if you like something that doesn't stretch your arm out when you're moving it around, go to 975. Again, designed for domestic installation, domestic hardwoods, as long as your concrete slab is at 80% or less. 980 is MAPEI's workhorse for wood floor insulation everywhere. We sell more of this than you can possibly imagine. Again, it's designed for concrete slabs that are drier, 80%. Again, porous or non-porous, designed for both domestic and exotic and bamboo flooring as well. A wet lay application only, obviously. None of these things are products that you can pressure sensitive them in as well. Then we get into our moisture barrier and bonding solutions, and you'll see our first introduction that's a modified silane material, Eco 985. Comes in a plastic bucket. It's because it reacts a little bit differently than our urethane counterparts. Eco 985 comes with moisture vapor barrier bonding solution characteristics, has acoustic redampening properties as well, and his claim to fame is with all MS products, they're easier to get off the surface of pre-finished hardwood if you make a mess. Urethane adhesives like to grab onto urethane finishes, are very difficult to get off if they dry. MS adhesives will come off the floor and will easily rub off with a white rag on the surface without causing any etching or damaging. 995 is our one component urethane that has moisture vapor barrier properties, acoustic properties, bonding properties. So it's an all-in-one type thing. The RH is up to 99%. I'm not sure why I've got that highlighted in blue, but okay. It's one of those that provides everything. 983 is similar to our 985, but is a lighter weight formulation, just like 975 is a lightweight version of 980. 983 is a lightweight version of 985. Comes with a little bit of moisture vapor control properties. 98 it comes with an RH level of 90%, pH is less than 12. A little bit of moisture barrier properties as well, porous and non-porous. The only thing this does not have is the acoustic property testing to be able to support that kind of claim. So that's where 985 would come in. 977 is the new one we've got in the marketplace, a fast set urethane, one component, more secured product. I've got two RH limits up here. You can use 977 using the same trowels you would use to install 980 with and work with that RH80 level. If you want moisture control, you can select a V-notch trowel, and they're on the technical data sheet. I won't quote me on what that is. Over in the lower right-hand corner, of the left-hand corner of the package, you can read that, but we can get 12 pound and 95% relative humidity control when you use a V-notch trowel to get a monolithic layer of glue. So anyway, 977. What I do want to mention about all of these adhesives I mentioned from 975 all the way to 977 is that they can be used in conjunction with a single coat of Planaseal PMB, and they all become 100% solutions. So keep that in mind when you're talking to customers or need to deal with a wood floor installation. A single coat of Planaseal PMB with any of our urethane or MS adhesives provides that 100% protection for subfloor moisture control for any kind of wood flooring going forward. A couple accessories. Eco 907 is a fast setting to modified silane material. Very quick grabbing. We kind of designed this to bond tack strip to concrete substrates. It's cured in 2 hours. You can stretch on it. You can use it for repairs. You can use it for nosings. You can use it for starter rows, whatever. Comes in 10.5 ounce, 29 ounce, and 20 ounce sausages, and is a great product to have in the toolbox for that as well. 903, this is also available at limited retail environments, but this is a tongue and groove glue adhesive. There is still a little bit of that business out there where you need to glue the tongue and groove together on some projects or in a repair situation. This is an acrylic, does a great job for that. And it's always good to have a bottle of urethane cleaner on the side to help clean up the residues from any of our urethane adhesives. It also works on the modified silane stuff as well. And one other product that's available that just came out in retail, you may see this, is called Ultrabond Eco 904. This is a water-based acrylic material designed for the installation of stair nosings and PVC trims and transitions on residential application as well, available at our partner Lowe's. So again, the selection of drivers for what type of flooring adhesive you'd want to use, it depends on the type of wood you're installing. Engineered, solid, domestic, exotic, bamboo, etc. Moisture levels in the substrate. We always recommend to do some testing prior to making that selection. Time constraints. We have some fast set versions. We have things that take a little bit longer. Whether you need a moisture barrier included or acoustic properties or ease of clean out or available funds. All this stuff makes a difference on how you do it. And the last lap, folks. Bear with me on this. We're doing good. We are in the business of wood floor finishing. So this is when I mentioned before about M20 being the only product that's exposed to the consumer, I lied. We have a whole bunch of wood floor finishing materials that go along with our wood floor installation products. And we start with Ultrabond Ultracoat Aqua Plus. This is an interesting product. It's like a latex that you add to the sawdust fines that you generate during the sanding process of installation of hardwood floors. Once you mix it with that polymer, this Aqua Plus, then you take a stainless steel or plastic trowel and you fill all the cracks and gaps that might be left over on the wood during the installation. So it makes a very nice smooth installation. The advantage about this is that it will accept stain the exact same way as the surrounding wood will be. So you're not going to wind up with funny colored lines or different colored areas. It's all going to stain the same way. So interesting product for the sand and finish type of stuff. Now, when it comes to finishing hardwood floors after it's been installed and sanded, there typically is a two-step process. You start with a sanding sealer that is the first application that goes on the open wood. And when you take a water-based material and apply it to raw wood, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to want to expand a little bit. And you're going to wind up with, if you run your hand on the floor and it's really smooth, and you say it's ready to go, and you put your first layer of base on it and you run your hand across it, it's all of a sudden got very scratchy. What the heck happened? So the wood expanded, the polymer penetrated into the open cells of the wood, and you got some prickly surface on the material. That's handled by a light screen, a floor machine, and a pad that helps, or a screen that help take that off. And then a second coat of sealer goes on, and then you finally come up with your finish coat, which has the different gloss levels of 10 or 0, 10, 30, or 60. So the bases are the inexpensive version of getting the floor ready, like the primer to a self-leveler, and then the finishing compound is the self-leveler or the final coat. So we have a one component sanding sealer. Again, this is a fast drying material. One component, does a great job, is your entry level product for that. We have a premium base, which is a two component base material, sanding sealer. It takes a little bit longer to dry, but this provides a thicker layer on the surface, and it's a more durable, stronger material. So where the Ultracoat universal base might be a residential application, the premium base I would look for commercial or high-end applications, people that want the better choices. And we have Ultracoat toning base. And this is an interesting product because water-based products on wood floor typically don't add any color. This industry has been dominated over many, many years. And if you live in a house like I do, there's probably wood flooring in it that was sealed with a solvent-based oil modified material. Those oils and those solvents will penetrate into the oil, giving a nice lustrous look. Typical water-based materials don't necessarily give you that deep look. That's what toning base does. So if you're spend the coin on high-end wood flooring, walnut or hickory or some exotic something or other, and you want to get that deep, rich look to it, we highly recommend using a toning base, which helps pop that color, make it look more depth, make it look like it's actually been dealt with on a oil-based finish. So then those are our three what we call sanding sealers or base coats, and then we have a variety of choices for the top coats. Ultracoat Easy is what it says. It's a standard performance, water-based, polyurethane, latex-based material. Entry-level price point comes in three gloss levels of 10, 30, and 60, available only in 5-gallon pails, and it's really the builder market, the apartment building redo market, etc. It's your price fighter way to go with that. Ultracoat Easy Plus is a one component high solids material, is self cross linking. It doesn't require additional part to be able to work, but it's got a great performance. Use this in conjunction with Ultracoat Universal Base and Ultracoat Easy Plus, and you've got a great solution for your bread and butter residential wood floor finishing projects. Okay. HT2K is our high performance two-part isocyanate cured polyurethane material. This is the most durable, scratch resistant, high performance material you can get. It comes in 4 gloss levels, 0 being naturals. There's a demand out there in the marketplace right now for products that are 0 gloss and just look like raw wood but are protected, all the way up to 60. You have to mix part A and B to get this, and provides a phenomenal performance attribute there. We have a couple of products for gym coatings. Ultracoat Gym, a one component solution. These are all MFMA, which stands for Maple Flooring Manufacturers Association approved for sport floors. Ultracoat Gym is good for, I would say, your entry-level wood floors in elementary schools, maybe sports centers, etc., racquetball courts, handball courts, and so on. And then we have Ultracoat Gym Pro, which includes a cross-linker, which is shown here on the right, that adds a greater performance to the material, greater durability, greater resistance to traction, sweat, additional liquid on the surface. This one is also MFMA approved and would be used for your college level basketball courts or even pro level basketball courts. Again, something to think about. And then we have, I think the last coming up on this is a renew it system. If you are dealing with wood floor business, the finishing business, you kind of have two choices. Starting from scratch, which is the sand and finish type application where you've installed hardwoods with nail down methods and you got raw wood and you have to bring it up to and finish it. Or you're dealing with floors that are already installed that have a finish on them that it's time to refinish them. Things wear out and you want to replace the surface. In that particular aspect, you have two choices. One is to sand that existing floor down to raw wood and start over like you're starting from scratch, or you look to products like the Renew It system, which doesn't require you to sand that floor all the way down to the beginning. It doesn't involve all that prep work. All you got to do is basically a three-step process. You remove all the existing surface coatings, polishes, waxes, whatever you might have on the surface of that floor with UltraCut Renew It Remover, followed up by a rinsing application, the cleaner, which provides a spot-free surface on which to install it. The floor gets to be so clean, you walk across it, your feet squeak, and then you do a primer on top of that cleaned floor. What this primer does, it takes out of the equation whatever was on that floor to begin with. It could have been aluminum oxide. It could have been acrylic e-beam cured. It could have been a urethane material. It could have been an oil modified polyurethane. Who knows what it is? But this primer base allows it to be neutralized, and whatever was underneath the floor now becomes something that we can bond to. And what we recommend after you apply the primer is to go back to UltraCoat HT2K, pick the appropriate gloss level you want, and finish the installation with that. So again, becomes a sandless refinishing system. And oh, by the way, this whole system works on resilient flooring as well. So selection drivers on wood floor finishes are the expected traffic conditions, the visual expectations. Do you want a clear coat or do you want a depth of field? Time constraints, available funds, condition of existing flooring, and the type of flooring that's installed. And that, my friends, completes the product line review. And I think at the end of the day, I hope you've all gotten a glimpse of what the product portfolio is. And there are a lot of things here. And I appreciate you hanging with me. We've looked at all that. And congratulations. You've won the race without crashing. And thank you very much for hanging around with me. So at this point, if there's any time left, if there are any questions, I'll take them.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. That was an excellent presentation. So I'm looking at our question box and we do not have any questions for today. However, for our audience, if you do have any questions that pop up in the coming days, please feel free to send that to mapeidigital@mapei.com and we'll make sure that Jeff gets those and we get some answers for you. Thank you again for joining us today and have a great day.